Hive Warriors. So we have an update on the Nikocado Avocado weight loss, super viral, super crazy situation where this man lost 250 pounds. Now, in my previous video, a lot of people were going in the comment section saying like, wow, how do you not know? Like he told us how long he took or whatever. Guys. I don't necessarily watch Nikocado Avocado, right? I watch as an experimental observant viewer. I don't watch his content on the regular at all, right? I'm only looking at him almost for like case studies to understand what's going on with him, compare and contrast him to other people like Matt Stoney, for example, as I did in my video essay. But people were telling me that he had another channel and he was explaining himself in his other channel a little bit more. And we come to find out that he did indeed do one of the theories that I said in my previous video. He backlogged his videos and then drip fed his videos. So instead of him actually losing 250 pounds in 7 months, which made me super curious if that was the case, because I would want to know how in the world was that possible. As I believe Angus Barberry, and somebody mentioned this in the comments, but this is true. Angus Barberry has the record for the most weight lost in a year and 12 days time. I believe it was 387 or 382 days that Angus Barberry did his fast, where he literally fasted for 382 days when he was around 27 years old. And he was morbidly obese, and he went from morbidly obese to super, super skinny. And he ended up losing about 275 pounds. So if, in fact, Nikocado Avocado would have lost 250 pounds in that 7-month period, it would have been astronomical. But he didn't lose it in the 7-month period because there were other videos. There were other channels, right? He had other channels where he was posting videos on those other channels. But on his main channel, he had a video that was 7 months old. So that's where my confusion came in. Apologies. Again, I don't necessarily watch Nikocado Avocado to that degree. Have I seen a lot of his videos? Yes. But all of the videos that I've watched were all under experimental purposes. They weren't to watch him for entertainment purposes. So, but yes, I didn't even know that he had I do remember that he had multiple channels, but it slipped my mind because, again, I don't go in and constantly watch Nikocado Avocado. But he did say in his second channel, Nikocado Avocado 2, that this video right here, that he did not make a video. He hasn't made a video in over 2 years. So that is a hint into when he started his weight loss journey, right? So if he hasn't made a video in over 2 years, then he's been losing the weight for over 2 years. And with Angus Barberry, he lost 275 pounds over the course of about a year and some days, a year and 12 days, whatever it was. And he lost 275 pounds in that time frame. So within that, doubling that time frame, Nikocado Avocado lost a little bit less than he did, right? Still, 250 pounds over the course of 2 years is still a very strict and very straight process, where very disciplined process, because it takes a lot of consistency. One of the reasons why a lot of people do not reach their weight loss goals is not because things that they're doing don't work. A lot of the times is because of the consistency. It is working. They are doing things that are working, but what happens is they fall off the train. And rarely do people keep the level of consistency that he did for a 2-year period. For him to have that much discipline, it does kind of lend to the fact that he may, in fact, have been doing this on purpose, because that amount of discipline for somebody who's morbidly obese is very difficult to pull off. Very, very difficult to pull off. Because normally when you get to be morbidly obese, it's because of things that you've grown up with, because weight gain is more psychological than it is physical anyways. So there are things that you can't fight, those hormones that are constantly fighting against your desires to overeat, right? To not overeat, right? You have your ghrelin is constantly shooting. Your leptin is constantly low. So you don't know when you're full with your leptin being so low, but then you're always hungry where your ghrelin constantly shooting, right? So that stuff happens through your childhood, through your upbringing. Normally when somebody's morbidly obese as an adult, if you go back to their photos when they were children, they were chubby little kids, right? They tend to be chubby little kids. So there are things that are built in from like the youth, where you're building all these impressionable feelings and your hormones are going through this process where there's a lot of things that are going to be in terms of addiction with food and things where you're very susceptible to being addicted to certain things. And it usually a person who is morbidly obese or reached the level of morbid obesity, who have reached that level, it is very hard for them to maintain any sort of consistency strategy mentally for 2 years. So for him to pull that off, it does lend to the fact that he probably was not a person who was constantly overweight. He's just a person that gained weight for views. And if you gained weight for views and it has not been embedded into you through some type of your upbringing, your childhood, the psychological traumas and stuff that you've dealt with, addiction that you've dealt with when you were younger, it's very plausible for him to be able to flip a switch much easier than somebody who's just morbidly obese because it ended up happening. I think with him, it was just like he went crazy with the mukbangs and stuff like that and was constantly eating all the time, as opposed to doing the mukbangs like how other people do, where you just do it once a week or once a month or whatever. He was constantly doing it, and he ended up gaining all of that weight. But let's talk about if, in fact, he did this on purpose, right? Did he do this on purpose? Now, the number one thing that I want to know is definitely how did he do? What did he do? Did he use fasting? I seen somebody say that he did the carnivore diet, but there's nothing where he's corroborating this, right? He's not said what he's done, right? But I'm curious to know what he's done. However, there is one topic that keeps being brought up over this situation, is that there is no way that he, in fact, planned this from the start. And you know what? I would argue that there is an argument that he didn't plan this from the start, that he gained the weight because he was getting the clicks and the views from gaining the weight. But there was a pivot point 2 years ago. And the cool thing is that 2 years ago was when I dropped my video essay on Nikocado Avocado and Matt Stoney, comparing the two, showing some level of compassion towards Nikocado Avocado when most people were just kind of throwing dirt on top of him for being overweight. Because I understand that weight gain is very, very psychological. It's very psychological. A lot of people just say stuff like, oh, put the fork down. That's all you got to do. But it's not that simple, right? It's not that simple. There's a lot of hormone stuff mixed in. There's a lot of psychological trauma mixed in, childhood trauma mixed in that causes people to gain weight and makes it hard for them to lose weight. So I came from an angle of passion or compassion, where I was like, you know what, if you did reverse this process and start losing weight, I do believe that your audience will embrace you, and they 100% have embraced them. So I would argue that it is arguable that he didn't gain weight on purpose. But one thing you can't argue is that he didn't lose the weight and trick everybody on purpose, because he absolutely 100% did that. So even if he's talking about 2 steps ahead, he might be trying to embellish that he gained the weight on purpose. But one thing that we know for a fact is that he definitely did make a bunch of videos and did not upload them. So that means as he's gaining more weight by overeating and still being overweight, he is planning this move during that time, because if not, he would have uploaded those videos. That's free content. That's free money that he could have put up, but he wasn't doing that. He was just filming and 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 not uploading. As a person who does YouTube, who has done YouTube for quite some time, if you film a video, you want to post that video, because you don't want to feel like all of that filming and research and all of that stuff just gone to waste, right? Well, with him, it's not research, but cooking and putting everything together, setting up the camera, the lighting, hitting record and all that stuff, editing. I don't know if he edits his own videos, whatever, but still, it's still a process. Even if you're just filming the video, it's still a process. So if he went through all of that multiple times, day in and day out, month in and month out, to not post, but just backlog and then drip feed, that has no other choice but to be intentional. So I would argue that him gaining the weight, it is very plausible that he didn't, like, he just gained the weight because he was getting the clicks and the views from going crazy and acting silly or whatever, and gaining weight. But I know for a fact that the moment he decided to start backlogging the videos, he was doing this purposely to trick the viewers. He was doing this perfectly to trick all of the commentary channels. And he tricked all of the viewers, and he tricked all of the commentary channels. I mean, anybody who pretends they weren't tricked by him, they're lying, because even I was tricked by him, even though I made my video essay telling him that he should do just this very thing. I didn't expect him to do it in this theatrical way, but I was saying that he should do this very thing. Just switch, just start switching the narrative of, now I'm going to lose the weight. He did it in a much more explosive way, where he just showed up with the weight loss. And I think that's more polarizing to people than for him to gradually be losing the weight. But I think I do believe, or I know for a fact, that from that moment where he started to backlog the videos, he clearly was trying to trick the world. He was trying to trick everyone. Now, as a plea to Nikocado Avocado, please tell us what you did. I just want to know, because 250 pounds in 2 years is still a really, really good clip. It's still a really good clip. Now, it's not astronomical, right, as it would have been if it was 250 pounds in 7 months. 250 pounds in 7 months without surgery would have probably been a record, because, as I mentioned, Angus Barberry was the person who held the record, and he did 1 year, and it was 275 pounds lost, 1 year and 12 days. So this is super interesting to me. This is just an interesting story, but again, we don't know how much he's going to tell us, right? He might not ever tell us. He just wants to leave it a mystery. But hopefully he doesn't do that. Hopefully he actually tells us what he did. That way we could kind of piece the puzzle together and see, look at this as an individual case study and see exactly what he did. Maybe this can help other people who have gained weight, who are morbidly obese, and be able to stay consistent. What was his routines? I'm more curious about his routines than I am about exactly what he did, because, as I mentioned, weight loss is more psychological than it is actually physical. Consistency is what gets you to lose the weight. You could lose the weight. Everybody who's ever been overweight has lost weight. I promise you. Now, have they lost weight consistently enough where they finally get to the other side of that fence where they're now lean or they're now not obese? No, that's the problem that most people have, is weight regain, right? It's not weight loss, it's weight regain. So for him to keep his consistency all the way down to 250 pounds, minus 250 pounds, That's impressive, and I feel that that would be helpful for him to share. All right, until the next one, guys, we're gonna keep tabs on this. Of course, we're gonna do our regular videos as well, where we're talking about studies and weight loss strategies and stuff like that. But we are definitely gonna keep tabs on Nikocado Avocado to see what he did. Hopefully, one day he tells us, right? Hopefully, the next video he posts is talking about the weight loss and not just another mukbang. All right, until the next one, guys. Peace out.